The controversy over the creation of 4 emirates out of Kano has taken another turn after a Kano State High Court today nullified that arrangement. The presiding judge, Justice Usman Naaba, ruled that due process was not followed in the creation of the 4 new emirates. The Kano State Governor, Abdullahi Ganduje, has explained that the creation of 4 new emirates in the state was to reduce the burden on the Kano Emirate led by Muhammad Sanusi II. However, a former minority leader of the State House of Assembly filed a motion challenging the legality of the action. And despite the court ruling, the Kano State government insists that it recognizes the new emirs as first-class monarchs in their respective kingdoms. In a statement, the State Commissioner of Information, Muhammad Garba, says the state government will not fold its arms and concede to threats to constitutional power in the interest of the people's well-being. He adds that the state government is studying the ruling of the Kano High Court on the creation of 4 new emirates in the state with a view to taking immediate appropriate action. Mr. Garba also advised people to be calm, law-abiding after protesters in Bichi, Rano and Gaya emirates took to the streets challenging the court ruling. The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has ordered the final forfeiture to the federal government of the sum of 280 million naira and 40.3 million naira traced to Obiwanne Okeke, popularly known as Invictus Obi. Justice Rilwan Ekawa made the order of final forfeiture today following the submissions of the EFCC counsel Rotimi Oyedepo. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission had told the court that the funds were warehoused in the Nigerian bank accounts of Invictus Oil and Gas Limited and Invictus Investment Limited, respectively. The anti-graft agency had also said that the 2 firms were owned by Invictus Obi, whom it described as a strong leader of a cybercrime syndicate that specialized in business email compromise. In 2016, 31-year-old Obi was celebrated by Forbes as one of Africa's most outstanding 30 entrepreneurs under the age of 30. In August last year, he was arrested by the FBI and is currently standing trial in the USA for allegedly defrauding some U.S. citizens in 2018 to the sum of $11 million through fraudulent wire transfer instructions in a massive coordinated business email compromise scheme. Let's take a look at some of the state lawmakers now. President Muhammadu Buhari has pointed out that the autonomy of the state legislature has been constrained by the Constitution, which has to be adhered to or altered to reflect some dynamics and realities of the country. The president spoke during a meeting with speakers of the House of Assembly from the 36 states of the Federation at the State House in Abuja. The speakers, under the aegis of Conference of Speakers, urged the president to support the devolution of powers to states on some issues on the executive list. To politics now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has presented certificates of return to Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State following his victory in the November the 16th governorship elections. Presenting the certificates of return to Governor Bello and his deputy, the National Commissioner of INEC, Mr. Muhammad Haruna, said the election is over and the people need to chart new ways of bringing development to the state.
I sincerely appreciate the people of Kogi State who teamed out en masse to repose this confidence and trust and believe in myself and my brother Edward David Omoje. I want to sincerely appreciate you and thank you for this wonderful job well done. There are cases of violence before, during, and after the election. Like I stated before, I will work with the Nigerian Police Force and all other relevant security agencies to ensure that all those that perpetrate any form of crime in the state during this exercise are brought to justice.
And in Bayelsa State, INEC has also presented a certificate of return to the Bayelsa State Governor-elect David Lyon. The INEC National Commissioner, May Agbamuche, presented the certificate to Mr. Lyon, who gave Bayelsans the assurance that he will ensure the state is developed.
Today, let me tell you, We are signing a contract with Bayelsans. We should understand the Lion and APC is signing a contract. And that contract is to develop Bayelsa.
Meanwhile, the meeting of leaders of the All Progressives Congress, that's the APC, is underway at the State House in Abuja. President Muhammadu Buhari is attending the meeting, along with the party's national chairman, Adams Oshomole. The Senate President, Ahmad Lawan, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, are also in attendance. Others are state governors, ministers, among other party members. The meeting is coming ahead of the APC National Executive Committee meeting, scheduled for tomorrow. Taking a look at the opposition, the People's Democratic Party, and it's calling for the cancellation of the November the 16th governorship elections in KOGI and Bayelsa states. The national chairman of the party, Mr. Uche Secondus, who addressed journalists after a meeting of the party's Board of Trustees in Abuja, insists that the elections were marred by violence, which led to deaths in both states. Mr. Secondus adds that the party has video evidence of malpractices committed during the conduct of the polls.
The PDP calls for the outright cancellation of the governorship elections in Bayelsa and KOGI states, as they were products of bloodshed and do not reflect the true wishes and aspirations of the people of the state. The PDP, standing with millions of Nigerians, also holds that the INEC and the Police High Command must be made to answer charges of electoral fraud and crime against humanity at the appropriate quarters. The PDP therefore call on the international community, as well as international organizations including United Nations, the European Union, Commonwealth of Nations, the African Union, ECOWAS, to immediately impose sanctions, including travel bans on the INEC officials and the security agencies and police for abusing their offices and aiding and allying acts that led to electoral fraud and violence in the election.
In the meantime, a women-centered civil society organization is asking the electoral umpire and security agencies to prosecute those responsible for undermining the integrity of the just concluded elections in KOGI state. Reacting to the conduct of the governorship elections in KOGI and Bayelsa, the League of Women Voters in Nigeria, in a statement, commends INEC for the timely deployment of election officials and materials despite the difficult terrain. The president of the League, Mrs. Esther Uduehi, also notes that the turnout of women was impressive in both states. While commending most of the security operatives for conducting themselves in a professional manner, the League also notes that some of them failed to protect the elections, as hoodlums were allowed to hijack the process in some parts of KOGI state. The Women's League also criticizes what it describes as vote trading during the elections through a sophisticated network of party merchants. Let's take a look at some business news for the day. Here's Melinda Akinlami.
Thanks, Ijoma. And we begin business news from outside our shores. Nearly 500 of the world's most influential business executives from over 60 countries are gathered in Beijing, China for the 2019 edition of the Bloomberg New Economic Forum. Participants at the two-day meeting, co-hosted with the China Center for International Economic Exchanges, are focusing on the topics of global economic governance, trade, technology, finance, capital market, amongst others. Our correspondent, Bisi Adebayo, has this report.
The 2019 Bloomberg New Economy Forum is bringing together a community of world leaders who will be addressing some of the critical issues facing the changing global economy.
We are facing some
In his opening remarks, the former U.S. Treasury Secretary and Chairman, Paulson Institute, Henry Paulson, says it's time for governments to work with the business community and the private sector to tackle some of the tough challenges facing the global economy.
We are facing some really tough challenges. It's a divisive time. There are tremendous tensions. So now more than ever, I think we need to come together.
In his keynote address delivered off-camera, the Vice President of the People's Republic of China, Wang Keishan, admits that technological advancement has created a double-edged sword for the economic growth. Mr. Keishan's speech paved way for the first panel session, which discusses the next decade of Chinese economic development and cooperation between the country and the West.
There is little hard evidence that China will establish a genuinely reciprocal basis for trade, technology, or investment that leads to substantially different market outcomes.
No matter how the international situation changes, China's pace of opening up will only accelerate. Our steps in this regard will only be bigger, and this will help the Chinese economy to integrate into the world better. And technological innovation is key to international competition.
For the next speakers, the question is, what should be the proper role of government in innovation and industrial planning?
There are ways that a government can incentivize and encourage more private businesses to adopt technology, make technology not just as disruptor, but also equalizer, to bring people left behind, to leverage technology to make it better.
Over a period of time, our living standards rise because we learn how to do things better and we get more output per man hour. Then there's cycles, short-term debt cycle, recession, expansion. Economy becomes too weak, inflation is low. Monetary policy creates credit, credit creates demand, and then you have a pickup, tightening of monetary policy.
The conversations continue with bilateral meetings and breakout sessions where participants will further explore how to foster critical development in the new economic era, promote sustainable development, and address climate change globally. From the Yankee Lake International Convention Center here in Beijing, China, I'm Bisi Adebayo reporting for Channels Television News.
And back in the country, the NSE's main index is gradually climbing back to the 27,000 level after investors' sustained interest for stocks lifted two main indicators higher at the close of today's trading session. Eddie Deong has details.
Hello and welcome to the stock market report. Now, the bulls still have a hold in the market as the all-share index gained 0.36% today, nearing the 27,000 level, and the equity cap higher at 12.969 trillion naira. Today, the oil and gas sector was the major contributor as that counter added 1.08%. Next is consumer goods with a 0.57% gain. Now, the 2.39% loss from industrial goods was not enough to cut today's gains. A total of 239.2 million shares valued at 2.27 billion naira were exchanged in 3,585 deals. The shares of FBN Holdings, Transnational Corporation of Nigeria, and Zenith Bank were highest on the list of top trades, while Cornerstone Insurance PLC was the highest among 21 gainers by 10%, while Cement Company of Northern Nigeria led 12 losers, down by 10% as well. But that's the stock market report. I'm Eddie Deong Iwang.
That's business news.